Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's the Pest and Lawn Ginja. Today, we're going to talk about mulching. So everybody wants to know, why doesn't the Ginja believe in mulching? Well, it might shock you, but I do believe in mulching. I just don't think people are doing it correctly. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about to mulch or not to mulch. That's always the question. Let's kick off today's discussion with a question. What is mulch? What is it? Everybody's talking about it, everybody wants to do it, but what is it? It might shock you to understand that mulch is a pretty simple concept. It's a material that's applied to the soil surface. That's all it is. Now, this material can vary. Between leaves, bark, compost. It could be grass. It's a material that's applied to the surface of the soil. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because the reasonings for mulch vary. You might be applying mulch for weed control, putting that bark in 7 inches. You might be applying mulch for fertility of the soil. You might be doing it to look aesthetically pleasing in a garden area. You might actually be putting mulch and compost into a garden area to help with soil conservation. Now, the reason why I pose this question on is what is mulch is because the application will vary depending on what you're trying to get out of the mulch. There is a right way to mulch and there's a wrong way of doing it too. Now, the reasons why I wanted to go over what mulching actually is because there's a right way and a wrong way to mulch the lawn. I think it's safe to say everybody wants the fertility and health benefits of mulching, but sometimes we get a little lazy and we don't do it correctly. Now, it looks like this lawn was mowed a couple of days ago. As you can see, the person operating the lawnmower was quote unquote mulching, and they were just leaving the grass clippings behind. Now, the problem that I have with this method is, as you can see, it's not working into the soil. Now, most of you are going to say, well, mine's not that bad. But the problem ends up being is if it's even half as bad, it ends up just working itself into the soil and it doesn't break down. I mean, you can see here as I dig my hand through, this is probably going on the entire season and it's just creating a mess. Okay, so we've got the fire pit and we've got the tarp around the fire pit that's preventing any new growth of grass, and it's also acting as a weed barrier. But the best thing about it is it's been catching dead grass. Now, the same amount of dead grass is usually just sitting in the soil. Like, I want to show you what's happening. When we get closer to it, you think, oh, there's just a couple of strands here and there. Oh, we just blow it out of the way. But check this out. I just lightly take my thumb, doesn't matter where, and I put it underneath, and you can see it's like a matted rat's nest of hair, and it's very fibrous, like it's not moving. I'm tugging on it. Sure, I could rip through it. The point that I'm trying to make is just like your hair gets stuck in the drain, your micronutrients that you're putting down, your fertilizer that you're putting down is getting stuck in this. Now, a whole separate subset of problems is when it's time for the water to evaporate out of the soil so we can get that oxygen transfer. It's also getting caught in here, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, that's a good thing, Ginja, because that's going to help with water conservation. And that's what a lot of people like to say, but it doesn't quite work that way. So for all you homeowners out there who think it's just a good idea to let that dead grass sit and that you're quote unquote mulching, think again. This stuff has been here the entire season. It's not breaking down. Everybody says, oh, it's really beneficial. Everything passes. You get enough fertilizer through the blades of the grass. This is going to help hold the water. I mean, look at this. Is it really? So let's go back to looking at this fibrous material that we picked up around the fire pit. I mean, this is exactly what's happening. You lay it down. And that's what's happening after the dead grass gets pushed underneath the grass on top of the soil. It's just sitting there just like that. And I think what we're hoping for, because we didn't want to do the job correctly and we didn't want to mow twice a week to mulch properly, we're praying that the grass is going to pop up through this fibrous layer. And I'll tell you what, it just doesn't work that way. It gets woven in on top of the soil. Now, expectations wise versus reality, we expect the dead grass to just move out of the way of the live grass. But in all reality, we end up with this on top of the soil. And it's thick, like you cannot see through it very well. There's little patches and little pockets where you're going to be able to see through it, and that's where we get this thinned out grass. And Kentucky bluegrass should not be this thin. It should be a lot thicker than this. And for those of you who don't have a rhizomatous grass, the grass blade that you have there is the grass blade that you get. And it doesn't grow another blade unless it goes to seed. So if you do not have a rhizomatous type, this is going to be even worse for your lawn. Okay, now you can see this giant pile of thatch. I dug it out from this area right here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my soil probe and I'm going to take a thatch sample to show you guys how this dead grass is contributing to the thatch layer. Okay, so I got my sample. The area is a little dry, which is fine. There's a teeny tiny little bit of thatch right at the top. But we're not actually contributing to a healthy thatch layer. And I know what you're thinking at home, oh Ginja, you just scraped it all out. So let me take one next to it where I didn't scrape. Okay, so take it straight out. As you can see, there's our dead grass. And then we look at our plug and there is a thatch layer underneath the soil, not on top of the soil, underneath the soil. So that dead grass is not contributing to thatch, it's just contributing to dead grass. Now the correlation between this and this is simple. Once the decomposition happens and it actually gets absorbed into the soil, we end up getting this nice composted layer of thatch. Now this can potentially turn into fertilizer and help these layers out and help fertilize the soil naturally. So here are the awesome benefits of mulching improperly. This dead debris gets bound up right here and it kills the whole area. As you can see, there's one spot. Here's another spot. And I just pick it out and it's a pancake of grass. And guess what? It's dead. That's all it is, dead grass. It's completely raw. And we keep walking. Here's another awesome piece of mulching gone bad. Need to have some girls in the background. Mulching gone bad, yay! But you can see dead grass. Now there's a ton of benefits to mulching the grass if you're doing it correctly. Now it's important for you guys to understand a couple of things if you want to do it correctly. Number one, do you have the right type of mower? Down here over at the Home Depot, and as you can see, it can get a little confusing when you get this many choices on mowers. Now the truth is, every single one of these mowers is capable of mulching. Now how good of a job they actually do is another story. There's a couple of tell signs that you can check for. The first one being, does it say that it can? Is it capable of bagging and mulching? Now the funniest part about this is that's not really the important part. They put this little doodad on here to make them look so smart, but in all reality, it just helps you be aware of what's going on. If we lift up this mower and we get up underneath here, you can see it's got the quad cut system, but the chute is right here. Now you can see underneath here. Now all I'm going to do is play with that toggle switch of mulching. That's the mulching mode. This is the bagging mode. And all it is the chute flap. And so they have this technology to mulch, but all it is that little flap. Now we've got the Toro and we've got the Honda. Now the Honda has the quad cut system and it actually has a cut blade, and then it's got a high lift blade. So the high lift is going to shoot it up and come back onto the blade, and that's what makes this a mulcher. Now when we go over to the Toro one, this is hilarious, right? This is their machine that's for sale. Look how disgusting this is. This thing is not new. It's been used, and it's been used a lot. Now, unless this is closed, you are not mulching, and that also makes a big difference. But blades are your #1 difference. You need to make sure that you have a mulching blade. So now that we've properly identified that 99% of the mowers out there are capable of mulching with a mulching kit, our next step is to identify if you actually have a mulching blade. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten out to somebody's place only to discover they've been mulching without a mulching blade. Now, I've got all 4 of these blades set up. Each one of them is slightly different than the other. And I want to talk about these real quick. Now, on our left, hopefully you guys guessed this properly at home, this is a standard mowing blade. This is not a mulching blade. A couple of things that you want to look for. It's all the way flat, all the way across. It's got a slight lift to help get the clippings into the bag, but nothing too special about it. Moving on, this is actually a mulching blade. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight high lift to get the blades to go up and off of the deck to come back down. This right here is our mulcher. This little notch right here signifies a mulching blade. So if you have this notch, you're doing pretty well. Now, there's other types of blades as well. This one is called a high lift blade, but you'll notice it does not have the notch. This is just designed to lift into the bag. Now, if you use this as a mulcher, it might work okay, but it's not designed for that. Now, moving on to a more aggressive mulching blade. You can see it's got these little serrated edges that help to cut that grass into mulch, and it also lifts it up off the deck and causes that bouncing so it gets multiple cuts at the same time. Now, this is very important because the smaller we can get the mulch, the better of a job it does at producing fertility and health back into the thatch and soil layer. Another thing to consider when we're mulching is that size does matter. It doesn't matter what they say. The fact of the matter is we want to get that mulch as fine as we can so that those microbes don't have a problem decomposing the matter and turning it into fertilizer. Now, when it comes to an engine, we want to make sure that it has enough torque that it's actually going to eat through and chew up all the grass and not leave it behind. So let's suppose you got the right mower, you got the mulch kit in, and you've got the right blade. What's next? Well, understanding blade height is a real big deal. Now, your mower might not have an engine big enough or strong enough to push it through to get those little tiny blades fine enough to turn into the mulch that we want for fertility and health. So it's important to understand how much you're taking off the top. As a general thumb, if you can see the mulch behind your mower, it's not being ground up fine enough. And my suggestion is to mow more frequently if that's the option you want to take. Now, could you potentially mulch every single week? Well, the answer is yes, but you already need to have a well-established healthy lawn in order to do so. If those microbes and those beneficial bacteria and fungus aren't already established, it's not going to do you any good. All right, guys, this is my buddy Freddie. He's my tan friend. He's much tanner than I am. I don't mow because I burn. Let's ask the expert. I don't mow lawns for a living. This is not what I do. So this is my buddy Freddie. He mows a lot of lawns. How many lawns a day do you guys mow?
We mow roughly 40 to 50 lawns a day.
Okay, that's a lot of frickin' mows. Like I physically can't do that. My skin doesn't allow it. I turn into a red lobster, and you get cancer with the sunblock or cancer without. What are you gonna do? But Freddie, ultimately, is there a difference between the mulching mowers that residential homeowners use and the mulching mowers that you guys use?
Yeah, there's a big difference. The residential mowers are a little less designed for mulching, even though they say they are.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
So what are some of the key differences?
Some of the key differences, the weight of the deck makes a difference on wobbling, and that can make the mulching kind of get missed. Whereas the commercial mowers are more, they'll settle and stay even key.
Okay.
You know, and so that allows for a more balanced mulch.
Okay. So why do the machines actually mulch better then?
Weight, the engines are usually stronger in a commercial mower.
Yeah.
So they just are stronger, so they can push that blade a little bit faster.
Okay. I mean, and all the viewers want to know, is it something that homeowners should be doing? Should they be mulching?
Absolutely. It's like fertilizing your lawn every week.
Okay.
Or every 2 weeks or whenever you mow. But the only other issue is if the lawn is too long, then you definitely don't want to mulch, because you're going to have those long clippings that are just going to sit on the top of the lawn and not allowed to get sun to the roots.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How small should these blades of grass get to before you would consider that mulching?
You shouldn't even be able to see them. If you're mulching and you can see them, like at a glance, then it's not, in my opinion, been properly mulched.
Okay.
If you mulch and you glance at it and you don't see anything there, that's when it's good enough.
Okay, perfect. And guys, we've been talking about this for a long time. One important aspect of mulching is you don't want to stop the mower. You want to keep the mower continually going, otherwise the clippings fall off of the blades onto the grass. We ended up mowing this section with the Honda mower, and then behind me we ended up mowing this whole section with the Toro motor, and I want to show you the difference between the two. Two commercial mowers. So one thing I want to make clear is the mow height of the cut is one of the most important parts of the mulching process. You guys can't let the lawns grow out. And we chose this lawn because it had grown really out of control, and we're showing you the worst of the worst on what can and cannot be done on commercial mowers versus residential mowers. So this is the Honda cut, and for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. There's a couple of strands here and there, but you can see the majority of the mow, since he overlapped properly, we're not finding too much. Now this is the half that we cut with the Toro motor with the Kawasaki engine. As you can see, we don't have those little strands of dead grass. It's not coming out. There's a couple of patches here and there that have a few, but you can't even tell that there's dead grass here at all that was put back in. They did not bag this. But I wanted to clarify a couple of things. Mulching is really good for lawns at lower altitudes. At our higher altitudes, we don't have the microbial action that's going to break it down as quickly. It's not that you can't do it, it's just people don't do it correctly. But guys, if you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up. Don't mind helping out where I can. Pretty sure this tree has a drinking problem. And here's your sign. Drinking's bad. You can see it split the trunk.